Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're working with Java, you've definitely come across the forEach method. And maybe you've thought, okay, what's really going on here? Well, today we're going to demystify this powerful little feature. We're going to take a classic, chunky block of code and transform it into a sleek, modern Lambda expression. Honestly, mastering this is a core skill that'll help you write much cleaner, much more efficient Java.
Okay, so here's the plan. First, we'll look at why we even need a new way to loop by comparing the old with the new. Then, we're going to meet the real hero behind the scenes, the consumer interface. After that, we'll build it out the classic way, just to see all the moving parts. And then, the magic happens. We'll transform it into a slick Lambda and see how it all comes together. By the end of this, you'll be using forEach like a pro.
All right, first up, let's set the stage. Why did Java even bother introducing a new way to loop? Wasn't the old way good enough? Well, it all boils down to writing code that's cleaner and, frankly, just makes more sense when you read it. So over on the left, you've got the loops we've all written a million times. They totally work, but they're what we call imperative. You're basically micromanaging the process, telling Java every single step. Create a counter, check the condition, increment the counter. But look at the right. The modern forEach is declarative. You're not focused on the how, you just state what you want to do. For each number, print it. See the difference? It's way more readable, and you're much less likely to make those annoying off-by-one errors. So how does this declarative magic actually work? It's not smoke and mirrors, I promise. It's all powered by a really important concept from Java 8 called a functional interface, and in this case, it's the consumer interface. Seriously, understanding this one thing is the key that unlocks it all. So the forEach method needs some instructions, right? It needs to know what action you want to perform on every single item in your list. And it expects you to give it that action packaged up inside an object that's a consumer. A consumer is what we call a functional interface, which is really just a fancy way of saying it has one and only one job to do, and that job is defined by its single method called accept. It just accepts an item and does something with it. That's it.
I love this analogy. Think of your list as a conveyor belt, with all your data as little items chugging along. The consumer you create is like a robotic arm at a station on that belt. As each item, say the number 4, comes along, the consumer's accept method grabs it, does its one programmed job, like printing it out, and then it's ready for the next item. Simple, right? It just consumes items one by one.
Now, to really appreciate the shortcut we're about to take, we first have to walk the long road. Let's build this consumer object the old school, pre-Lambda way. Seeing all the pieces will make that aha moment with Lambdas so much better.
Okay, first things first. We need to declare a variable to hold our action. We'll tell Java its type is consumer, and since our list is full of integers, we'll specify that with the generic type, I, integer.
Now here's the thing. Consumer is an interface, not a class. You can't just create a new one directly. You have to provide an actual implementation. Before Lambdas, a super common way to do this for a one-time use was with an anonymous inner class. It's like creating a tiny, nameless helper class right on the spot, just for this one task. And inside this little nameless class, we have to do the one job the consumer interface requires. We have to implement the accept method. This is where our actual logic goes. We're telling it, okay, when you get an integer, which we'll call n, I want you to just print it to the console.
And there we go. We create our consumer object, con, and then we pass it right into the forEach method. And this works. It's perfectly valid Java code. But just look at it. That's a lot of ceremony, right? All that code just to define the simple action of printing a number. Come on, we can do better than that. Of course we can.
And this brings us to the star of the show, the Lambda expression. A Lambda is really nothing more than a super short, elegant way to do exactly what we just did with that anonymous class. Let's watch that clunky code just melt away.
Okay, check this out. The Java compiler is pretty smart. It already knows that the forEach method is expecting a consumer. So all that boilerplate, new consumer integer, and the curly braces is just noise. The compiler knows what we're trying to do, so we can literally just delete it. Next up, since consumer is a functional interface, it only has that one method we care about, accept. There's zero confusion about which method we're trying to implement. So again, the compiler doesn't need us to spell it out. We can get rid of the method declaration, public void accept, too.
And bam, the Lambda is born. We are left with only the most essential parts, the parameters for the method on the left and the implementation, the code we want to run on the right. And they're connected by this little arrow. That's it. That's the core of a Lambda expression.
But wait, we can make it even cleaner.
Java's compiler can infer that n must be an integer because it knows our list is a list of integers, so we can drop the type declaration. And when you only have one parameter, you don't even need the parentheses. And finally, if your method body is just a single line, you can ditch the curly braces and the semicolon. And that leaves us with this beautiful, concise, and perfectly clear final form.
So let's take that super clean Lambda expression and plug it back into our original code and see the final result.
And here's the crucial point. We can take that entire Lambda expression and just pass it directly into the forEach method as its argument. That whole, verbose, multi-line anonymous class we wrote earlier, it's been replaced by this single, elegant line of code that does the exact same thing. That, right there, is the power of modern Java.
So let's wrap this up. Why does this all matter? Well, first, your code gets way shorter and easier to manage. Second, its purpose becomes obvious. You're focusing on the what, not getting lost in the how. And this opens up a whole new world of functional style programming. And hey, here's an exam tip. If you're ever in an interview, remember this. forEach needs a consumer, and a Lambda is just the cleanest, slickest way to give it one.
And that leaves us with a final thought. Consumer is just the beginning. Java has a bunch of these built-in functional interfaces, like predicates for testing things, functions for transforming things. Each one is designed to make your code more powerful and expressive. So the question is, what will you build with them? Happy coding!